Hare Krishna. We're going to start with the auspicious Mangala Charanam. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right, let's go to our verse that we're memorizing this week, 10:10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Let's do it again. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Those who are constantly devoted. No, I have to get the right tune. Usually when I sing this, it goes in the whole, let's do the whole sequence, then it'll be fun. Okay, so we're going to start from text 8, translation. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. I give the understanding.
That's what I'm saying.
I give the understanding.
That's what I'm saying.
I give the understanding to my devotees so that they can come to me. The thoughts of my pure devotees always dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. I give the understanding.
That's what I'm saying.
I give the understanding.
That's what I'm saying.
I give the understanding to my devotees so that they can come to me. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. I give the understanding.
That's what I'm saying.
I give the understanding.
That's what I'm saying.
I give the understanding to my devotees so that they can come to me. To show them special mercy, I dwelling within their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. I give the understanding.
That's what I'm saying.
I give the understanding.
That's what I'm saying.
I give the understanding to my devotees so that they can come to me, so that they can come to me. Arriba. That's Chaturshloki Gita. Okay, you got to make it fun. So, we left off on chapter 13, text 30? 30, right? Yeah, we did 29. Yeah, we talked about how...
We did 30.
We did 30?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was the last one, body material
Okay, yes, because of desires.
Yeah.
Very good. So 1331. It's very auspicious. 1331. Yada bhuta pitak bhavam ekastam anupashyati tata eva cha vistaram brahma sampadhyate tada. Pragati.
My mother's name is Sampada.
Oh yeah, nice. I know someone named Sampada too.
When a sensible man when a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahma conception. When one can see that the various bodies of living entities arise due to the different desires of the individual soul and do not actually belong to the soul itself, one actually sees. In material conception of life, we find someone a demigod, someone a human being, a dog, a cat, etc. This is material vision, not actual vision. This material differentiation is due to a material conception of life. After the destruction of the material body, the spirit soul is one. The spirit soul, due to contact with material nature, gets different types of bodies. When one can see this, he attains spiritual vision, thus being freed from differentiations like man, animal, big, low, etc. One becomes purified in his consciousness and able to develop Krishna consciousness in his spiritual identity. How he then sees things will be explained in the next verse.
Nice. Yeah, so again, Prabhupada is talking about how we get these bodies. Our bodies arise due to our desires. So yeah, we can look at our body, which body we got. Of course, with the body comes a whole lot of other things, right? It's not just the body, but it's also, the family that we're born into, the country that we're born into, the socioeconomic bracket that we're born into, the the state of physical and mental health that we have. It's all due to desires. So yeah, in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, he says that for someone who's very thoughtful, they can actually understand their previous birth based on their current birth, right? Because we get the body according to the accumulation of our past karma and our past desires. And so that's what it is. We're seeing the result of our past life right here in this present birth. So we can surmise some things about our previous birth and things that we prioritized and valued, desires that we had. Yeah. Okay, and then that also informs us that in this life we have to be careful what we desire and make sure that we have our priorities in the right place, right? Because we may, as they say, do lip service to some spiritual philosophy, some spiritual ideals, right? Like, yeah, I want to have an eternal relationship with God. Yeah, I want to go back to Godhead. But then we don't act that way. Our behavior doesn't match our so-called aspirations. So we have to make sure that our goal is clear and our behavior and our activities are aligned with the goal, so that what we do is actually leading us to the goal. Otherwise, we can end up somewhere very different. Lavanga?
Just a quick question, Prabhu. How do you respond if somebody were to say, well, I was born in a background where I guess my parents were abusive and I grew up poor, I'm just giving an example. Like somebody might argue, well, I didn't desire this. How could I have desired this in my previous life?
Yeah, so it's a combination of what we desire and what we deserve. So yeah, like I think I mentioned this before, we may desire to be a millionaire, but if because of our past karma, we don't have the pious credits for that, then we're not going to be a millionaire. So same thing, we might have done some sinful activities in a past life, and so the result of that is suffering, right? That in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami says that there's 4 kinds of results, effects of impious or sinful life, and those are that you get a ugly body, or you get a diseased body, or you take birth in a low family, like low class or impoverished family, or just, a mode of ignorance family, or you have legal problems in the current life. So any of those conditions means that we, did some bad stuff in a past life. So yeah, just make sure not to do any bad things in this life, and at least we can get a better birth, because that's why we need to know, we need to understand the laws of nature and how these work so that we can prevent a lot of future difficulties for ourselves. Because if you don't know something, then, just ignorance gets us into a lot of trouble, right? When you don't know something. Like, let's say you go to another country, like here in America, we drive on the right side of the road. So you go to India, they drive on the left side of the road. So let's say you show up, some American tourist in New Delhi or something, and you're like, hey, I want my own transportation. So you rent yourself a motorcycle or something, and then you just start driving. And for some reason, you didn't know that people drive on the left side of the road. So you're going down the highway, you're on this like 2-lane highway, and then a car's coming really fast in the opposite direction. You're like, what's going on? Oh no, I didn't realize I was on the wrong side of a dual carriageway. So yeah, that could end badly. So yeah, we need to know the rules of the road for navigating this life. Chaitanya?
Uh, yeah, just what on Lavanga said, that I just wanted to add something. Can I add that?
Sure.
So I was thinking like this myself, that why if I don't have these desires, but I thought that sometimes human can have contradictory desires. So let's say nobody wants to be sick, but sometimes when we think that I don't have to go to office if I'm sick, or people will be kinder to me, then people can have desires to be sick. Or if somebody is very famous, so they might have desire to have ordinary life, that if I was not famous, then nobody would poke in my life that much. So, and then if somebody is not famous, then they would desire that I wish I was famous. And if somebody is very, very rich and they are thinking that everybody comes to become my friend because they want money. So, if I was not rich, it was good. So, sometimes we can have contradictory desires, and this time that we are getting the results, we might think that this cannot be my desire because nobody can have the desire. But we just don't realize when we are in some miscellaneous situations, we can have like desires that are just not going to make us happy. They're going to give us bad result. Or if we are intoxicated or in some modes of passion and ignorance, we can have like very bad desires that we won't like when we get the results.
Yeah, good. That's very insightful. Yeah, so sometimes we have desires that are actually against our own interests. They may be extreme reactions to situations that should be positive but have like unexpected bad results. Or they might just be situations that are not really pleasant, but that give us something else that we value. For example, yeah, I remember hearing the story, true story about this woman, elderly woman, and she had some internal like organ disease, like a some stomach problem or something. And she also had arthritis. And both of them, it seems like somehow both of them were equally curable. So then she went to the doctor and he gave her something for the internal stomach thing. And he also gave her something for the arthritis. And she was doing both treatments very diligently. And the stomach thing healed up nicely, very quickly. And the arthritis didn't go away, no matter what she did. And she tried different treatments and it didn't go away. So then they were looking into it. And then he was asking her, well, what happens in your life? Like, how is your life different now that you have arthritis? And then she said, well, it just means that, if I'm trying to open a jar or something, then one of my children or grandchildren see me, they'll come and open the jar for me, or they'll carry things for me, or they'll help me out in ways that they didn't used to help me before, which is kind of nice. But and they said, and how about the stomach problem? He's like, yeah, it was just annoying, like I had to have a special diet and it troubled people and just made everybody want to not like invite me to their house for lunch or something. And so you see that she had this need to be loved and included and, cared for by her family. And the stomach problem was making it less likely that she was going to be loved and cared for, but the arthritis was making it more likely that she was going to receive love and care. So the stomach problem healed up quickly, but the arthritis didn't, because it was actually giving her a reward that outweighed the pain of having arthritis. So it was like a whole mental thing, that she was just holding on to that arthritis because she desired not the arthritis exactly, but she desired the love and care that she was getting, the sympathy that she was getting as a result of the arthritis. So very interesting, right? Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's a really awesome example.
Okay. Yeah.
I had a question. I don't know, like I'm not that much clear. Like here they say a soul has desires, a soul has everything.
Uh-huh.
And then here it says, do not actually belong to the soul itself. Like it has desire, but it does not belong to the self. Like, can you explain it to me?
Well, he's saying that the bodies of the living entities do not belong to the soul itself. Right, that's what it says. But when one can see that the various bodies of the living entities arise due to different desires of the individual soul and do not actually belong to the soul itself. So this body is not mine.
Body.
Yeah. But sometimes we say, Prabhupada does that thing, point to your head, point to your nose, point to your arm, point to your chest. Now point to you, and you can't because, you already pointed to your chest and you can't point to yourself. Anyway, so then usually devotees say, yeah, because we're not this body. We say I have, we don't say I nose or I shoulder. Right? We know that we're not these things. We say I have a nose, I have an arm, I have two arms. So we have a body, but we're not the body. But actually, we also don't even have a body. This body is not the soul's, right? We don't have this thing to keep. It's just like, it's not even ours.
Please.
It's on lease. Yeah, it doesn't, but it actually belongs to Krishna. And there's that story, and it's meant to be used in Krishna's service. There's that pastime from Chaitanya Charitamrita where Sanatana Goswami, he was really disgusted with his body because he had this disease and he had sores all over and he couldn't do any service. And, he was afraid that he was going to offend the devotees by touching them and getting some, pus or something else. He was just like, this is really like bad. I'm just so done with this. And his plan was that he was going to come to Rath Yatra in Puri and throw his body underneath the wheels of the Rath cart and commit suicide. And so Lord Chaitanya, being the omniscient Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, knew what Sanatana Goswami's plan was. So then one day he called him into his room. Two of them were alone. Oh yeah, today's Sanatana Goswami's disappearance day. Yeah, we heard all about him this morning in class. So good. We get to tell some katha about him. So Lord Chaitanya called him. They're just one-on-one. He said, Sanatan, what makes you think that you can destroy my property? And Sanatana was like, what? Which property am I destroying? I don't know what you're talking about, my dear Lord. And Lord Chaitanya is like, yeah, you want to destroy that body that you're in. And then he says, oh, how did you know? And he said, I know. And he said, so Lord Chaitanya said that that is my body. It's not your body, that's my body. And I have many plans for how I'm going to use that body in my service, right? For opening temples and establishing deities and writing books and rediscovering the lost holy places of Vrindavan. And he said, I have a lot of work to do with that body. Who do you think you are that you're going to destroy it? So Sanatana Goswami was like, shush, okay, I'm canceling that plan. But he had a good realization. That's a lesson for all of us, that these bodies, we think we can do whatever we want with them. But actually, it's Krishna's property. And usually, like if you're taking care of something that belongs to somebody else, especially if it's something very valuable and very dear to them, then you have to take care of it really nicely, like better than you would take care of your own thing, right? Because if you damage your own thing, that's your own problem. But if you damage somebody else's thing, especially like if you're borrowing something from, a senior devotee, you're driving a senior devotee's car or something, it's like, you're going to drive it really careful because you don't want to scratch it or wreck it or anything in any way, because the person who actually owns the car is very respectable and dear to you. So you don't want to do anything that's going to inconvenience them. So yeah, so what to speak of respectable and dear? Krishna is the most respectable, most honorable, most worshipable, most dear, intimate friend of ours. And this body is his property. So we have to take care of it and engage it in his service. Okay, so that's our relationship with the body, basically, is we're maintaining it for Krishna's service and we're using it in Krishna's service. Okay, but it's true also, this first sentence, that the desires also do not actually belong to the soul itself, do not belong to the pure soul. They're like a perversion. We were talking about that yesterday. Okay, so let's go ahead to text 32. Anaditvan yagunatvat paramatmayam avyaya sharirasto pikonteya nakaroti nalipyate. Do you want to read Lavanga?
Yes. Those with the vision of eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. Purport. A living entity appears to be born because of the birth of the material body, but actually the living entity is eternal. He is not born, and in spite of his being situated in the material body, he is transcendental and eternal. Thus he cannot be destroyed. By nature, he is full of bliss. He does not engage himself in any material activities. Therefore, the activities performed due to his contact with material bodies do not entangle him.
Nice. Yeah, so Krishna is really trying to bring us to this point of spiritual vision, the Brahman conception, right? Understanding everyone's a soul, and actually seeing like that, having the vision of eternity, which is the reality. That's the actual proper way of seeing the world and seeing other people. Last night we had a program here called Mantra Night, and that we have it's like a outreach program that we have every Wednesday evening. And yeah, so we had a nice group of people here. And so what we do is we do kirtan, and then we choose some song, or maybe a part of a song. So I was leading the program, and I chose the song Jeev Jago by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And so Jeev Jago, Gaur Chandra Bole. Kota Nidra Jaro Maya Pisha Chira Kole. It's Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Lord Chaitanya is saying, wake up, sleeping soul. So long you've been sleeping in the lap of the witch called Maya. So we did a little bit of a discussion on this point, and I had everybody go around and say, I asked them the question, tell us something that you would like to wake up from, right? Some kind of like illusion, some way that you're deceiving yourself, or that you're in illusion or ignorance, and you wish you could just like wake up. So it was good. Yeah, people had different responses. And what I thought was, because we had just been reading these verses yesterday afternoon before the program, what I thought was I would really like to wake up to having this vision of eternity. I want to wake up from the illusion of seeing people as their bodies, and because when we see people as bodies, then we tend to start judging them based on their bodies. Like, oh, this is an Indian person, they're going to be like that. This is a Hispanic person, they're going to be like that. This is a man, he's going to be like that. This is a woman, this is an old person, they're going to be like that. So we have all these stereotypes and things that, as much as we would like to believe that we don't have those preconceptions about people, we actually do have a lot of prejudices and stereotypes and things, inevitably, just from our conditioning and what we've heard and experienced in this lifetime and previous lifetimes. So yeah, I would really like to wake up and get out of that mundane vision of other people and also of myself, and see everyone as spirit souls, right? As imperishable souls, transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature, as not entangled in anything, having nothing to do with this world. So we can pray for that. And of course, yeah, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the medicine for that disease, NHA, Enechi Aushadi Maya Nashibara Lagi Harinama Maha Mantra Lao Tumi Magi. He says, I'm begging you, take the medicine. And what is the medicine? Harinam Maha Mantra. It's the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So just keep taking this medicine, and gradually this disease of ignorance is going to be cured, and we're going to actually see clearly. All right, let's go to text 33. Yata sarva gatam sorry, let's start again. Yata sarva gatam sokshmyad akasham no palipyate sarvatra vashtito dehe tatatma no palipyate. Do you want to read, Chaitanya?
The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body, though situated in that body. The air enters into water, mud, stool, and whatever else is there. Still, it does not mix with anything. Similarly, the living entity, even though situated in varieties of bodies, is aloof from them due to its subtle nature. Therefore, it is impossible to see with the material eyes how the living entity is in contact with the body and how he is out of it after the destruction of the body. No one in science can ascertain this.
Yeah, so that's the good news, that even though we're here in this body, we have nothing to do with this body. We just don't mix with it at all. So yeah, Krishna gives this analogy like air, sky. So you might have air bubbles in water, but as soon as they don't mix with the water, they just stay in the little air bubbles, right? And then they just bubble up and poof, back into the air. Or you might have air bubbles in mud or clay, like potters, they get a bunch of blob of clay and then they have to knead it. And then the air bubble, the air never, no matter how much you knead it, the air doesn't mix with the clay. But what the kneading does is it pushes the air out of the clay. So yeah, soul is like that. It's in the body, but it doesn't mix with the body, and it just leaves. When it leaves the body, it doesn't leave any. It doesn't carry any trace of the body with it. Okay, text 34. Yata prakashayatyeka kritsnam lokam imam ravi kshetram kshetri tata kritsnam prakashayati bharata. Alia, would you like to read?
Yes. O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all the universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. Purport. There are various theories regarding consciousness. Here in the Bhagavad Gita, the example of the sun and the sunshine is given. As the sun is situated in one place, but is illuminating the whole universe, so a small particle, spirit, soul, although situated in the heart of this body, is illuminating the whole body by consciousness. Thus, consciousness is the proof of the presence of the soul, as sunshine or light is the proof of the presence of the sun. When the soul is present in the body, there is consciousness all over the body. And as soon as the soul has passed from the body, there is no more consciousness. This can be easily understood by any intelligent man. Therefore, consciousness is not a product of the combination of matter. It is the symptom of the living entity. The consciousness of the living entity, although qualitatively one with the supreme consciousness, is not supreme because the consciousness of one particular body does not share that of another body. But the super soul, which is situated in all bodies, as the friend of the individual soul, is conscious for all bodies. That is the difference between supreme consciousness and the individual consciousness.
Thank you. Yeah, so just like the sun is situated in one place, right? It's just a globe up there in the sky, in the space somewhere, in this universe. And the light of the sun is filling up the whole, Bhuvar and Swalokas, 3 planetary systems. So in the same way, this soul is situated with one place. It's situated within the heart region of the body, and yet the consciousness is it's like the sun rays that are expanding out from the sun. consciousness is like beaming, beaming throughout the whole body, every square millimeter of the body, every cell, every atom of the body is infused with consciousness. So if someone touches the tip of our toe, we're going to feel it, right? Because there's consciousness in the toe. So then how does a consciousness get there? The consciousness is very subtle, but it travels. And Srila Prabhupada, if you ever read the book Coming Back, it's very interesting. I'm not sure if this is an oversimplification of what actually happens, but the way it's explained there is that because the soul is situated in the heart, and the heart is also, you know, from biology that, you know, the blood is pumped throughout the body to the extremities, and then it comes back to the heart, picks up oxygen, right? And then, well, anyways, you know how it works. Anyways, the idea is it comes back to the heart without oxygen, and then it gets oxygenated, and then it gets pumped back out. So then, Prabhupada said, in the same way, there are channels within the body that, just like the veins and the arteries pump oxygenated blood to all the extremities, they're like subtle channels within the body through which consciousness gets pumped from the heart also, and the same place as the blood, from the heart also, all through the body. So don't ask me what those channels are or what the pump is or how it all works, but yeah, something like that. Anyways, the analogy is there. So whether the mechanics are similar, I don't know, but I thought that was interesting. Okay, text 35. This is the last verse of this chapter. Kshetra kshetra gyayor evam antaram jnana chakshusha bhuta prakriti moksham cha ye vidur yanti te param. Kritika or Aruna, would you like to read? Maybe they're not able to read. They're both at work. Okay, back to you then, Pragati.
Those who see with eyes of knowledge the difference between the body and the knower of the body, and can also understand the process of liberation from bondage in material nature, attain to the supreme goal. Purport. The purport of this 13th chapter is that one should know the distinction between the body, the owner of the body, and the supersoul. One should recognize the process of liberation as described in verse 8 through 12. Then one can go on to the supreme destination. A faithful person should at first have some good association to hear of God and thus gradually become enlightened. If someone accepts a spiritual master, one can learn to distinguish between matter and spirit, and that becomes the stepping stone for further spiritual realization. A spiritual master, by various instructions, teaches his students to get free from the material concept of life. For instance, in Bhagavad Gita, we find Krishna instructing Arjuna to free him from materialistic considerations. One can understand that this body is matter. It can be analyzed with its 24 elements. The body is the gross manifestation, and the subtle manifestation is the mind and psychological effects. And the symptoms of life are the interaction of these features. But over and above this, there is the soul, and there is also the supersoul. The soul and the supersoul are two. This material world is working by the conjunction of the soul and the 24 material elements. One who can see the constitution of the whole material manifestation as this combination of the soul and material elements can also see the situation. Sorry?
And can.
And can also see the situation of the supreme soul becomes eligible for transfer to the spiritual world. These things are meant for contemplation and for realization, and one should have a complete understanding of this chapter with the help of the spiritual master. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 13th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of nature, the enjoyer and consciousness.
Haribo. Jai. Thank you. Yeah, so that was basically a concluding verse with a concluding purport that sums up the whole chapter very nicely. Prabhupada did that very astutely. I don't think AI could do better. So yeah, Prabhupada wrapped it all up here. So the three topics of this chapter are what?
Knower, Kshetra, Kshetragya, like spiritual super soul,
Yeah.
individual soul, and body.
Yeah. So the matter, individual soul, and the super soul. And Krishna, Prabhupada says, well, even Krishna said it in the verse, one of those verses, that if we just understand these three things, the difference between the body, the soul, and the super soul, then we are eligible for being transferred to the spiritual world. So we need to really understand these things properly. I mean, as devotees, it's kind of like, seems like a no-brainer, right? Yeah, there's matter, and there's the soul, and there's God, you know? So like, yeah, okay, does that mean I'm going back to Godhead? Good, right? Anyways, that's like basic spiritual understanding. And Prabhupada says, but there are layers, right? There's layers to this, because one thing is the theoretical knowledge, and the other thing is the application. So if I actually realize, yeah, Prabhupada said this is meant for contemplation and for realization. So we need to contemplate this very deeply and try to realize it, because if I realize that I'm not the body, then how is that going to affect my actions? If I realize that I'm a small individual soul and I'm meant to serve the Supreme Soul, then how's that going to affect my actions, my attitudes, and choices that I make in my life? So sometimes we understand this theoretically, but our application is a little lacking, right? Due to lack of realization. Lavanga?
I heard someone that was giving a lecture on this chapter basically kind of sum up the chapter like this, because it's talking about the Kshetra and the Kshetra Gyan and all this. So it said the Kshetra gets the Kshetra Gyan because he wants to be Purusha. Yeah, so the jiva gets a body because they want to be the enjoyer. So the chapter is explained like that.
Oh, wow, that's pretty good.
Kshetra gets a Kshetra Gyan because they want to be Purusha.
Other way around, the Kshetra Gya gets a Kshetra.
Oh yeah, Kshetra Gyan gets a Kshetra. Yeah, sorry.
That's why I was getting confused, but I understood your point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that when we desire to be the Lord, then we get a material body. And then by our experience with this material body, we realize that I'm very far from the Lord. Right? Okay, any thoughts on chapter 13? Yes, Pragatu.
I like when I was reading this summary, I felt it so much impact of the spiritual master here, because no one else, if I ever read this Bhagavad Gita, I won't know that how the soul and this material elements are interacting, and that is the spiritual master who shows this. So like the importance of spiritual master in one's individual life,
Yeah.
that I realize, I think, because no one is gonna say this or explain this so in a very vast with examples and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I also made this diagram, like to realize, okay, this is the soul, and we just accumulate the desires and
Yeah.
get the body, but it is Krishna. So if you just evaporate this cloud and get free from desires, you will be the soul, and you can reach to pure.
Pragati made a really cute picture here. Wait, can you see it? Anyways, yeah, she's got one. She's got the cloud of the desires is like a cloud, and then the soul, yeah, accumulates desires and gets a body. But if we can evaporate, no, this is the thing, see? Then when we bring the sunshine of Krishna into our life,
Yeah.
then the cloud of material desires evaporates, and then again we become pure soul and go back to Krishna. Because Krishna's like the sun, right? Krishna,
You-
Surya, Sama.
I wrote how to get out of desires, and you said Krishna's sunshine.
Yeah. Wherever there's Krishna, then all those clouds are gone. Okay, very nice. I'm glad. Well, Pragati is doing exactly what Prabhupada says. Contemplating, right? Contemplation. So when we read, we should, hear and also think about it. Should go away contemplating it, thinking about it, trying to really understand what Krishna's saying here, what Prabhupada's saying. All right, very good. Who's Galaxy A02?
That might be Mukunda.
Oh, your husband?
Yeah, I invited him. I'm not exactly sure, but that might be him. That might be his cell phone.
But he's going to reveal himself right now. There he
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
Mukunda Madhava, all the way from the
Hare Krishna,
Dominican
nice
Republic.
to see you. Thank you.
The mystery person out there in the galaxy somewhere. Chaitanya, where are you?
I'm in Ireland.
Oh, Ireland. Oh, that's good. I was thinking if you're in India, it's got to be like 2:30 in the morning over there. What are you doing awake? Okay. So it's evening there now. Maybe it's about almost 7 p.m. or something? No, more than
It's
that.
about
9.
going to be 11 soon.
Oh, 11. Oh, wow. This is like late night for you. It's Bhagavad Gita late night live, like Saturday Night Live. Okay. We still have a little bit of time. So let's just dive into chapter 14 here. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Parambuya Pravakshyami Jnananam Jnanam Uttamam Yajgyatva Munaya Sarve Param Siddhim Ito Gata. Who? Lavange, would you like to read?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Again, I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained supreme perfection." Krishna said that for like the past 3 chapters.
I know, right? You keep saying, now I'm going to tell you the best thing. Now I'm going to tell you the most confidential thing. It keeps
Anyway,
getting better and better.
I'll go on the purport. From the 7th chapter to the end of the 12th chapter, Sri Krishna in detail reveals the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, the Lord Himself is further enlightening Arjuna. If one understands this chapter through the process of philosophical speculation, he will come to an understanding of devotional service. In the 13th chapter, it was clearly explained that by humbly developing knowledge, one may possibly be freed from material entanglement. It has also been explained that it is due to association with the modes of nature that the living entity is entangled in this material world. Now, in this chapter, the Supreme Personality explains what those modes of nature are, how they act, and how they bind and how they give liberation. The knowledge explained in this chapter is proclaimed by the Supreme Lord to be superior to the knowledge given so far in other chapters. By understanding this knowledge, various great sages attained perfection and transferred to the spiritual world. The Lord now explains the same knowledge in a better way. This knowledge is far, far superior to all other processes of knowledge. Thus far explained, and knowing this, many attain perfection. Thus, it is expected that one who understands this 14th chapter will attain perfection.
Jai. All right. Well, I hope we understand the 14th chapter by the end of all this then. Yeah, so Krishna says, Jnananam Jnanam Uttamam. So Jnananam means of all knowledge. This knowledge, this Jnanam, is the Uttamam, the best. So out of all knowledge, this is the best. Because this knowledge is going to, enable us to achieve the supreme perfection. It's going to enable us to, the Siddhim, Param Siddhim, Itogata, to attain the transcendental perfection, the goal of life, perfect goal of life, perfect transcendental goal of life, something like that. So back in 13:22, Krishna said, Purusha prakritistohi bhunkte prakritijan gunan karna guna sangosya sadasat yoni janmasu. That the living entities follow the ways of life, enjoying the 3 modes of nature, and that's due to association with the material nature. So here he's talking about the gunas. He specifically says the gunas. Gunan, what is it? Karnam guna sangosya. Well, first he says Prakriti Jan Gunan, and then he says Karnam Guna Sang. So he's mentioning the gunas twice in that verse. And he's saying that these gunas are why we end up with a certain body and all these things happening to us. And so you can imagine that Arjuna is like, what are these gunas that you're talking about? What are these three modes of nature that you're talking about, and how do they influence us? So now Krishna's going to answer that question starting in this chapter, and he's going to expand on this thing of the three modes of nature a lot, mainly chapters 14, 17, and 18. Talks a lot about the three modes of nature. So he's saying that this is the supreme knowledge, because in chapter 13, he explained all these different 20 items of knowledge, right? In text 8 to 12, humility, pridelessness, nonviolence, tolerance, simplicity. And then, yeah. So now he's saying that this is the best of all knowledge, because this is going to explain. See, this chapter 14 is going to conclude with knowing him, basically, with transcending the modes. He's going to teach us about the modes to understand how we're influenced in this world, why things happen to us, why we make sometimes good choices and sometimes bad choices, and how to transcend the modes and come to the transcendental platform. And also that he is the basis of that Brahman, right? He's the basis of Brahman. Okay. So Prabhupada says in the purport that we have to understand this process through this chapter, through the process of philosophical speculation. What does that mean? Because usually Prabhupada is not very favorable on speculation, especially he says that the mental speculators and all that, but he's saying actually we have to do some philosophical speculation on this chapter, and then we can come to an understanding of devotional service. So what's the difference between that mental speculation that Prabhupada condemns and philosophical speculation that he's encouraging?
Can I take a stab at it?
Sure.
Okay. From my understanding, mental speculation is when you're like concocting something from your own mind. But philosophical speculation is when you're hearing from authoritative sources and you're like contemplating it, trying to understand.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not imagining something, we're not just concocting or creating something, but we're hearing from bona fide sources, in this case, Krishna. We're hearing from Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita, and then we're using our intelligence to understand what we've heard, to try to understand what the concepts and how to apply them, right? So that's philosophical speculation. It's a little different than the mental speculation of the Gyanis. Okay, so Prabhupada introduced us here to this chapter. So text 2. Idam jnanam upashritya mama sadharmyam agataha sargepi nopajayante pralaye na vyatanti cha. Back to you, Chaitanya.
By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. After acquiring perfect transcendental knowledge, one acquires qualitative equality with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, becoming free from the repetition of birth and death. One does not, however, lose his identity as an individual soul. It is understood from the Vedic literature that the liberated souls who have reached the transcendental planets of the spiritual sky always look to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, being engaged in his transcendental loving service. So, even after liberation, the devotees do not lose their individual identities. Generally, in the material world, whatever knowledge we get is contaminated by the three modes of material nature. Knowledge which is not contaminated by the three modes of nature is called transcendental knowledge. As soon as one is situated in that transcendental knowledge, he is on the same platform as the Supreme Person. Those who have no knowledge of the spiritual sky hold that after being freed from the material activities of the material form, this spiritual identity becomes formless without any variegatedness. However, just as there is material variegatedness in this world, in the spiritual world there is also variegatedness. Those in ignorance of this think that spiritual existence is opposed to material variety. But actually, in the spiritual sky, one attains spiritual form. There are spiritual activities, and the spiritual situation is called devotional life. That atmosphere is said to be uncontaminated, and there is one equal in quality. There, one is equal in quality with the Supreme Lord. To obtain such knowledge, one must develop all the spiritual qualities. One who thus develops the spiritual qualities is not affected either by creation or by destruction of the material world.
Thank you. So in these first two verses, Krishna is basically glorifying the knowledge that he's about to present before he presents it. Right? He's saying that this is the best of all knowledge. If you know this, you understand this knowledge, you're going to attain the supreme perfection. Being fixed in this knowledge, you can attain a transcendental nature just like my own, and you're not going to have to die or be born again. So this is really good knowledge, so pay attention. Right? You're just trying to make sure that Arjuna is not going to space out now, because this is very important, and make sure that we're also not going to space out. So sometimes Krishna does that, like a good teacher, right? Like if you're teaching a topic, teacher will say something like, all right, everyone pay attention to what I'm going to say because this is going to be on the exam, right? And then everybody's like, I think it depends out, notebooks out, they're ready to like, because this is very important, this is like essential, like this is the knowledge that you need. It's going to determine the extent to whether you understand this point is whether you're going to pass or fail the course, right? So Krishna says, so that's what this knowledge is. The extent to which you understand this, whether we're going to have to take birth again or not, whether we're going to attain the supreme perfection or not. So listen up, he's saying. So then when Krishna says, well, I like how he says it in the Sanskrit, is idam jnanam upashritya. Upashrita. So ashrita, it means taking shelter, right? It means ashraya means shelter. So he says this knowledge is something that it's not just to know, but it's to take shelter of. We need to really like take shelter of this knowledge, like cling to it, as if our lives depend on it. Yeah. So the way Prabhupada translates is being fixed in this knowledge. It's like holding on to it tightly, taking full shelter of it. If we take shelter of this knowledge, then we can become transcendental, because that's how it concludes, right? How to transcend the modes of nature. But in order to transcend them, we need to know what they are. We need to know how they're influencing us, how to step by step work our way up through these modes, how to identify when we're getting dragged down by the modes. Because otherwise it's the same thing, right? It's like being blind, being in ignorance and not knowing that there's something right there that's going to hurt you, or there's some like, gangster hiding around the corner with a knife like this, ready to stab you or something. You know what I mean? You just don't know he's there. So we need to know that the forces that are at work in this world and how they may potentially harm us, so that we can protect ourselves. And so if we do, and we engage in devotional service and transcend these modes, then we can attain a transcendental nature like Krishna's. What Prabhupada says is qualitative equality. So yeah, not that we're the same in quantity, because Krishna is always going to be greater. As you say, mata parataram nanyat, that there's no truth superior to me. So even when we're totally established in our eternal identity, we're never going to be superior or even equal to Krishna in quantity, but same quality. Lavanga, have your hand up?
Just a question about the purport, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
It says here, generally in the material world, whatever knowledge we get is contaminated by the three modes of material nature. So when I'm hearing this, I'm kind of thinking of like maybe like knowledge we would get at like school or university or something. So how do we tell like, okay, this is knowledge in the mode of goodness, this is knowledge in the mode of passion, and this is knowledge in the mode of ignorance?
Yeah, well, that comes up in the later chapters, right? Whereas
Yeah.
it specifically talks about knowledge in the three modes. I think he says that, if I remember correctly, knowledge in the three modes is knowing, well, look, we can just look it up. I don't need to rack my memory too hard. Knowledge. kinds of, no, 1866, that's not it. Oh yeah, knowledge in the mode of goodness, 1820. Chapter 18, text 20. Yeah, so he says, according to the three different modes of material nature, there are three kinds of knowledge. So that knowledge by which one sees undivided, that knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness. That's what we were just talking about, right? Seeing everyone as spirit souls, seeing that everyone is a part and parcel of Krishna, and seeing that the unity and diversity, that although we have different bodies and different lifestyles and different cultures and languages and things, but there's unity in that we're all parts and parcels of Krishna. We're all, here, and Krishna's the father of all of us, right? He says, I'm the seed-giving father of all living entities, and that we all have an eternal relationship with Krishna. And because we all have an internal relationship with Krishna, we also all have an eternal relationship with each other in some respect, right? Because just like the children of the same parents all have a relationship with each other too. It's not that they all just have some exclusive relationship with their parent. So, yeah. So we're all a spiritual family here. And yeah, and not just humans, but everyone, right? One person who sees a spirit soul in every living being, demigod, human being, animal, bird, beast, aquatic, plant, that's knowledge in the mode of goodness. Okay, so mode of goodness. So then based on that knowledge, what are we going to do? We're going to value life. We're going to value all life. Yeah, we're going to see everyone as souls, as servants of Krishna, and try to facilitate their spiritual journey as much as possible. Okay, then it says that knowledge by which one sees that in every different body, there is a different type of living entity, you should understand to be in the mode of passion. So that's mode of passion, that everybody is just different. So they don't see unity and diversity, they only see the diversity. They say this person is different from that person, and they're just different. They have nothing in common, right? And sometimes we say that, see a person is like very different personality. Maybe they grew up in a different culture, and they just like think totally differently. You're just like, we have nothing in common, right? Sometimes we say like that, but it's actually not true. Everybody has the most important thing in common, and that is that we're all cut from the same fabric. We're all parts and parcels of Krishna, and we all have an eternal relationship with Krishna. We're all Satchid Ananda, eternal, knowledgeable, and full of bliss living entities. So mode of passion is not seeing things as they are. It's just focusing on the diversity. And then that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all, without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness. So this knowledge in the mode of ignorance is basically not much knowledge at all, right? Meager means you don't have much knowledge at all. But and it says attached to one kind of work as the all in all, means that you see only one way of doing things, right? It's my way or the highway. Basically, like, not only do you see other people as just totally different from you, but you basically you see their way of doing thing is wrong. The way that they think is wrong. Their beliefs are wrong. they're lower, they're wrong. It's, the kind of, yeah. So there's a lot of people like that in the world, right? That just have no tolerance for other, ethnic groups or religions or things like that. So this is, knowledge in the mode of ignorance. And it's worse because they don't know what the actual truth is. So they're saying my way or the highway, but their way is most likely the wrong way. And there's a better chance that the other people are going to be actually doing something right, but they just dismiss it and write it off as total nonsense. And so they remain deluded because they're closed-minded to learning something new. So this is the nature of the mode of ignorance. It just keeps you trapped in darkness and hating everyone.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Like all these hate crimes and things that take place is because of this so-called knowledge in the mode of ignorance. Okay, oops, we're out of time. So we'll stop here, but that was a nice exploration. Yes, we'll get to it. Any questions or comments or reflections on this little end of chapter 13, beginning of chapter 14? Okay, let's see what's happening out here on Cyber Loka. Hare Krishna. YouTube Loka. I'm gonna start with. Oh, the single dose didn't come today. We got Pal. Pal, we got a Pal. Saying Hare Krishna. Got John Mitchell. Oh, John Mitchell, sinner, evil spirit, Papi Atma. John Mitchell, I think you're being a little hard on yourself. Just the fact that you like clicked on the link that said Prabhupada Priya's Bhagavad Gita class means that you haven't totally lost that part of yourself. So keep coming. And Michael is asking, is anyone coming to Rath Yatra in Toronto tomorrow? And the answer is yes, I'm coming. And I hope to see you there, Michael. And you should be coming on Zoom. Why are you not coming on Zoom? Anyways, I'm happy that at least you're coming on YouTube. So that's all. It's pretty chill here on the YouTube chat today. So we will wrap it up and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow I have a morning flight. I arrive in Toronto around lunchtime, and hopefully they're having a 12-hour kirtan, but I might just take a break at 5. It'll be there 5. It'll be same time for you guys, but it's 4 in Dallas and it'll be 5 in Toronto. So hopefully I'll be able to still do the class, provided that people don't ambush me or that there's a good internet connection, etc. I'll try my best to have class, so stay tuned. But if you don't see me, then don't despair. Oh, Saturday we definitely won't have a class because I'm going to be on an island in the middle of Lake Ontario with Lord Jagannath. Okay, and then we'll resume on Tuesday, hopefully, if I can get an internet connection at my dad's place. Let's see what Krishna wants. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Bol.
Bhagavad Priya ki jai.